All righty. Good morning, everybody. Glad you could join us today for our Work from Home series. Today, we're going to be talking about safety protocol. A lot of questions over the last several weeks about not just how we deal with going on site or meeting with clients or meeting with prospects or just meeting people in general. Because even though we all are sheltering in place, as we conduct business as an essential service, it is necessary for us to go out and do certain things on behalf of our clients or for our clients, et cetera, et cetera. And so because we had gotten so many questions, we actually shuffled the deck a little bit and put this safety protocol presentation together for you because so many questions flooded in. I thought it was important that, A, you know what we do, but more importantly, hopefully you can take away from this something that you will do when you consider interacting with people out and about. Even as this pandemic starts to wind itself down over the next, I'm hopeful, I'm going to say a couple of weeks. This might be a couple of months, but let's say a couple of weeks. Hope springs eternal. And so as this begins to wind down, we're still going to want to take those extra precautions at least in the near for the next several months, because those of us that have been sheltering in place for extended periods and therefore haven't built up any immunities or antibodies to it, God forbid somebody leaves a little bit early from sheltering in place, and then you would come into contact with them and you may find yourself coming down with COVID-19. We don't want that to happen to anybody. And so it's very important that you take responsibility for yourself, and you make sure that you're protecting yourself and those you come in contact with. And so it's this webinar. This obviously is a Zoom meeting, and if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that there is a place where you can have a Q&A. And so just drop any questions you have in that Q&A, and I'll answer them as we go through this. Pay attention down there at the bottom of my screen to anybody that has any questions. So feel free to ask anything you want on any topic you want. As we go through this, I'm happy to talk about anything, but I do want to stick with the protocols first. Generally, we allocate about an hour for the webinar. It is being recorded and it will be posted on our YouTube channel later, along with some of the things that we're going to be giving at the end of this, including our own best practices guide. And so stick around to the end so you know where to find that, and we're also going to distribute that to the people who joined us today. Excellent. So let's get started. As I said, we've allocated about an hour to this. However, this generally goes about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the number of questions. Again, the questions put down in the Q&A. So setting expectations. Now, this is very important. When you go on site, when you're going to meet with anybody, whether you're going on site to do work for somebody, or you're going to meet with somebody, whether you're meeting out and about or on site in their offices or in a conference room, or someone's coming into you, the first thing you want to do is set expectations. Lay the ground rules for how you guys are going to interact with one another so that everybody knows that you are taking their safety and your safety very seriously. And so what we do in Absolute, the very first thing we do is we notify the point of contact that we're coming on site or we're going to have a meeting with them, the day and time of that meeting so that they can be aware of it. And we also want to make sure that they're alerting their team members that we are coming on site and that they can expect someone there and therefore to steer clear of us. And what we're doing is we're setting expectations. We're laying the rules for how we are going to interact with them and how we expect them to interact with us. And that's very important because what it's doing is it's communicating several things. The first thing is it's communicating that you take safety and their safety very seriously, that you want to make sure that you are doing everything you can to protect them, and at the same time, you want them to do everything they can to protect you. Most people have a false sense of security when they sit at home. We talked about this webinar, that from being at home, you're in the nest, the safe place. And so they have a false sense of security. Some of that bleeds out into the real world when they go outside, especially if they've been walking around their neighborhood to get some fresh air and they're waving at people at a distance. And security just from doing that elevates the risk when they're in a more full setting. And so by setting expectations, you are giving everybody what the ground rules are and how you're going to communicate with one another and interact with one another, and making sure that everybody respects each other's safe space, that 6-foot safety zone as defined by the Center for Disease Control. And I'm sure we've all been listening to the news on all of that. So you want to set expectations. And the first thing we do, as I said, is we do that by way of notifying the point of contact. We do it 2 ways, actually. We send an email, and then we follow up that email with a phone call to the point of contact, just to confirm that they got the email, to confirm the date and time, and to make sure that they've read the safety protocols that we have in place, because inside that email, we list that. We make mention of the fact that we're coming with antiseptic and that we're coming with paper towels, and I'll get into some of this in a little bit. But that email contains what we're doing while we're there in terms of being safe and precautions. It also tells them what we're about to do while we're there, what we're going to do things about, whatever that is. Whatever the interaction is designed for, we're going to lay the ground rules for that and set expectations for that, okay? The next thing we're going to do is prepare for the visit. We call this our bill of material. And what we're doing, whether the meeting is tomorrow or next week or next month, it doesn't matter. We're going to have a bill of material prepared well in advance. And that bill of material is everything we're going to bring with us to ensure the safety and security of that interaction, as well as what we would normally do to prepare for any meeting, if we have any presentations, if we have any tools, or whatever the case may be. So that bill of material has been amended since this crisis to include our safety and security measures above and beyond the normal ones we do. So our bill of material, again, I'm going to give this to all of you at the end of this, so no need to take notes. Feel free if you want to. I usually take notes myself, just so you know. It helps me remember. But that notwithstanding, you'll actually get our best practices guide at the end of this. So our bill of material with the adjusted safety and security measures include at least 2 of the following: 2 face masks, 2 pairs of gloves, 2 plastic bags. And I'll explain why in a little bit. So at least 2 of each of those: 2 face masks, 2 pairs of gloves, and 2 plastic bags. We also include antiseptic or rubbing alcohol that we use ourselves on the worksite, and we include a roll of paper towels. And I know that there was a whole run for towels and a whole run on alcohol and antiseptic, but you can generally find face masks and antiseptic or sanitizer and paper towels. If you can't, I'm going to show you at the end how you can make these yourself. Really good stuff. I'm going to credit my good friend Tim Meredith, actually his wife Allison, who's the one who informed me about that. So kudos to them for having done that. And if they're on this webinar, this is a shout out to you guys. And so again, our bill of material includes at least 2 face masks, at least 2 pairs of gloves, and at least 2 plastic bags. And on the plastic bags, 1 plastic bag we write in marker that says reuse, and the other plastic bag says disposal. And there's a reason for this, and we're going to get into that when we go further down into this presentation. And again, then antiseptic and or rubbing alcohol. You want to kill all the germs on you and in the area, and that's very good at killing the COVID-19 virus, and a roll of paper towels. So effectively, they're disposable wipes or paper towels, something that you're going to use once and then get rid of, not reuse. Use once and get rid of. So that's what our bill of materials looks like. So we prepare that well in advance of our meeting. We make sure there's an inventory in-house that we have, literally in our house. Or if we happen to go to the office, we make sure that we have some in the office as well. So we have a supply of that in the office for anybody that needs to go to the office to pick up whatever they need to pick up in advance of that meeting or that on-site visit. The next thing we do is we reinforce expectations. So remember, I first said that we set expectations. We send out an email, we make a phone call, we let our point of contact know that what date and what time we're going to be there, what we're there to do, whether it's a meeting, a presentation, or to do work, and what our safety protocols are when we get there, what they can expect of us and what we can expect of them. On the day of the meeting, sometimes we send it out prior to the meeting if it's a longer meeting schedule, meaning if I schedule it a week or two or more in advance, we'll actually send out a reinforcement the day before as well. But we reinforce expectations. So on the day and on the day before, depending on how long in advance you've scheduled the meeting, we do a reinforcement of those expectations. And what we do is, believing, we actually reach directly out to the point of contact. Well, again, we'll send an email and we'll make a phone call. And we want to make sure that they, again, what to expect from us from a safety perspective, a security perspective, what we're there to do and how we're going to interact with one another, and what time we expect to be there. We also ask them to alert their team that we're coming, to remind their team members that we're on our way, and that when we get there, we want to make sure that our work area, if we're working together, or if we're having a meeting, that conference room that we're having a meeting in is set up in a way that gives us that safe distance of about 6 feet, not even about, at 6 feet from one another, preferably in a large room, ventilated area again, but to the extent that you don't have that available, at a minimum, you should maintain a 6 foot distance, okay? In fact, this Friday, we're gonna be doing a group lunch. I call it Team 88 lunch. Our address is 88 Danbury Road. So we're all gonna convene at the office in the parking lot. I'm gonna draw circles where everybody's gonna sit, and we're gonna have lunch together, because that camaraderie of not being in the office, of being in the office, is gone from working at home. All of these meetings, you don't necessarily get that same interplay, personal interaction that you would get when you're one-on-one. So this Friday, we're having what I call a Team 88 lunch. And I'm bringing lunch in, and we're all going to have lunch. Everybody's going to bring their own chair. We're going to sit at least 6 feet apart from one another, and we're going to gather and enjoy a friendly lunch together. So it's like we're back in the office, if you would, so we can enjoy this company. But what I did was I set everybody's expectations. I'm reinforcing it today, enforce it again tomorrow prior to the meeting, what we're doing, why we're meeting, having lunch, and what I expect everybody to do. They're going to bring their own chairs. They're going to bring their own paper towels. They're going to bring their own antiseptic. So I've already done all of this in advance. So I'm actually doing exactly what I'm talking about here today. This is actually our protocol that we use in-house and that we use when we visit with clients or prospects, anybody that we're meeting with. So we reinforce expectations. We send out that email, phone call. Again, it outlines the work we're doing, and it outlines the safety measures and precautions that we're going to take and that we expect them to take when we get there. And we remind them again to alert their team that we're coming, and to please make sure that the area is ready for us. If we're working, clear the area. If we're meeting, make sure we're sitting 6 feet apart. And again, that reinforcement happens either, depending on how long in advance, the day before and day of, or just the day of. Finally, we're going to arrive and work, whether it's working on something or work involves a meeting or a presentation. Again, I'm using these interchangeably because regardless of the purpose of the meeting, the same safety and security protocols should be taken by everybody now. As a matter of fact, as I said earlier, everybody in the foreseeable future, when I say foreseeable, the next 3 to 6 months, right? You want to make sure that your interactions with everybody are safe while this thing begins its decline, and hopefully we find ourselves inching closer to, I like to call it the road to recovery we're on. as we inch closer to a vaccine or at least mitigation strategies, much like I'm talking about here, but long tail mitigation strategies that don't make this such an horrific event as it is. And if you think about the flu, we almost are dismissive of, but to date, the flu has killed more than COVID-19. Any death is certainly mournful, but to the extent we can mitigate what we can, we do what we can. Okay, arrival and work. So when we arrive, the first thing we do when we get there is we call them from our car to say we're here and we're coming in. Again, what we're doing is we're setting the expectation that we're going to be there, and we want to make sure that the space is ready for us. If it's a conference room, chairs are situated in sets at 6 feet apart, and making sure that they're not 6 feet apart side to side, but also 6 feet apart face to face or even behind, whatever the case may be. If we're working in a space, we want to make sure that work area is clean and ready for us. We don't just want to walk in and say, okay, we're here. And then, okay, I'm not ready, and now they're scrambling, and people are running, and their guard goes down because they're going to be in a rush, and now they're going to not be safe. And so when we get there, first thing we do is we make a phone call to our point of contact. Say we're here, we're coming inside. Is everybody ready for that? Yes or no, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we get there, we notify them that we're coming in, and to please have the area for us to come. This sounds like overkill, but trust me, the clients or the prospects or whomever you're meeting with is very appreciative. And I say this from experience because I visit with clients, I visit with prospects, I have potential business partners, and they're very appreciative that I'm going out of my way to keep them safe and at the same time keep me safe. And so you're not annoying them by calling them and saying, hey, I'm here and I'm coming inside. Now, before you go inside, make sure that you do two things. Make sure that you put on your face mask. Remember, we brought 2 face masks. You put on a face mask and you put on a pair of gloves. You should have packages of disposable gloves, right? I said bring 2 with you. So put on a pair of gloves and put on a face mask. And you want to do that. I know not everybody's comfortable with it, but the more people that the more people are doing it today, let's put it that way. And if you look around, you'll see many, many more people you wouldn't normally see in face masks. So don't be embarrassed. Your health is worth any embarrassment. The short-term embarrassment you have relative to being in a hospital and potentially intubated, I think the short embarrassment is worth it. And if it's not, send somebody else. Don't take the risk. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people that you may come in contact with. So put on your face mask and put on your gloves and bring with you in your case, whatever you brought, don't use the reuse bag or the disposal bag. In whatever you brought with you, an extra pair of face masks or gloves just in case something happens, it falls off, it's sweaty, if you're working hard, whatever the case may be. And so bring them with you just in case you need them again. So you go in wearing those, so you're going to bring in the other pair, you're going to bring in the paper towels, and you're going to bring in the antiseptic, the paper towels or the disposable wipes, whatever it is you bring, and the antiseptic or rubbing alcohol. Okay? So you bring that in with you. And the very first thing you do is wherever you're going to be working or sitting, wherever it is you're going to be interacting, wipe that down. Grab a paper towel, grab some antiseptic or some rubbing alcohol, and wipe the space down. It's not disrespectful by any measure. Again, you're demonstrating that safety and security matters to you, and it gives a high comfort level to whoever you're there to interact with. And I say that with experience or from experience. So I actually do what I'm talking about here, and my clients have heaped praise on us, use us as a reference as a result of that. So I strongly encourage you to do that. You wipe down the entire space. And when you're done with wiping it down, do not throw it in their garbage can. That's why I said 2 plastic bags, one marked disposal, one marked reuse. And take that paper towel or disposable rag and put it in the disposal plastic bag. because we're going to do something with that bag later. And then put that off to the side. And then you want to get to work on whatever it is you're going to do, your presentation, you're working on systems, you're building out a network. It doesn't matter what you're there for, but you're working now in a clean environment, and you're working there in a safe environment, okay? What I want you to be doing while you're doing that, and I say this to my guys all the time, and me too as well, so I'm not just putting it off on them. Be alert. So know what's going on around you, not just what's on right in front of you. Is anybody over here? Is anybody over there? Do you hear noise behind you? What you're listening for, what you're paying attention to, is anybody who might be careless, not intentional, but people make mistakes. And so you want to make sure that you're aware of your surroundings. You should always be aware of your surroundings, even before this whole pandemic thing. If you think about driving, you're aware of who's behind you, you're aware of cars in the lanes next to you, and you're aware of how close you are to anybody in front of you. This is how you have to behave when you're in the workplace, when somebody else's workplace, even your own workplace, if you're working out of the office with other team members in your company there. You want to make sure you know what's going on around you. So you're continually listening for what's happening on the peripheral and what's happening behind you, so that you know, and you can tell when voices are a little too close. You can tell when the shuffling of papers are a little too close. And so if you hear something like that, spin around, look over, and just ask them politely if they're a little too close. Could you do me a favor and maintain 6 feet? I'd appreciate that. And do it in a respectful way. Don't get mad. People aren't intentionally trying to invade your space. People still have a degree of social comfort. They've been trained that way for the decades they've been alive. And so this hasn't necessarily set in with certain people, or if it has, they just didn't think about it. They were busy, engulfed in work, whatever it is, and maybe they were approaching that 6 foot zone, and just very politely, can you just maintain 6 feet? I'd appreciate that. Thank you. I'm working here, whatever the case may be. And so be alert is key. You've done all these other precautions to make sure that you've prepared the workspace, that you've prepared your point of contact, that they've prepared their team. Now you need to be aware, you need to be responsible for yourself. And so you need to be alert of what's going on around you. And while you execute the job, you do the work you're there to do. Again, whether it's actual work that you're doing, meaning working on something or in something, or if you're just giving a presentation or you're talking to somebody. Okay? Upon completion, now you're all done. The work is over. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to notify the client or the prospect or who you're there to meet with that you're done. If they're not there with you, obviously, if you're in a meeting, you don't need to notify them. But if you're not in a meeting, if you're doing work and you're not there with your point of contact, notify them that you're done. And obviously, you do your normative protocol. Is there anything else? Can I help you with something, et cetera, whatever that is for you, whatever your exit protocol is. And everybody should have an SOP, a standard operating procedure, or a protocol. A standard operating protocol that you follow for everything you do, including when you're done doing whatever it is you were doing, whether again, work or presentation. Anything else I can answer, any other questions that you have, anything else you need from me while I'm here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're going to do something else and it's in a different workspace, make sure you follow all those other previous protocols we talked about. If not, so you're going to wrap up now, this is where we're going to use our reusable and our disposable plastic bags. If your face mask is reusable, and some are, which means you can go and wipe them down with antiseptic, or you can throw them in a washing machine and reuse them again. And so you have one of those reusable face masks, like an N95 or what. Put it in the reusable bag. Don't carry it out. If you want, you could wipe it down with a paper towel and the antiseptic or alcohol and then put it in the reusable bag. But whatever you do, however you deal with it, I do wipe it down, by the way, with the antiseptic or the rubbing alcohol and a fresh paper towel. And I put it in the bag. I throw the paper towel in that disposal bag, as I mentioned before. So anything that you're going to reuse, like the face mask, you put in the reuse bag if it's a reusable face mask. Sometimes the heavy-duty gloves are also reusable. I don't encourage you to use them. In fact, I encourage you to get disposable gloves because the viral, I've listened to the news and I pay attention to CDC. I'm told the virus lives longer on those types of surfaces. And so I would encourage you to use the gloves and toss them in that disposable plastic bag. You're going to wipe down before you take off your gloves and put them in there. Wipe down that whole work area. Make sure that work area you worked in is clean again. Maybe you had some, or someone came in contact, whatever the case may be. It takes a second to wipe down the surface and then throw that into the disposable bag. Then get rid of your gloves and your face mask, as we talked about. Again, if the face mask is reusable, then you want to reuse it. Okay? Do not leave that disposal plastic bag or anything you brought with you, unless it's for them, at the site. Because you want to make sure that you take yours with you. Again, it's a demonstration that you're serious about security, but more importantly, if you didn't fully disinfect somehow, you want to make sure that you take it off premise. And so you take that with you out of the site, and the disposal bag, you're actually going to place it into an exterior garbage can or a big dumpster, anything that's outside. You don't necessarily want to take it back with you. However, if there's no garbage can, if there is no dumpster outside, put it in the trunk of your car and wait till you get back to your destination, whatever that is, or if you come upon one along the way, you stop for lunch and you want to throw it out somewhere, that's where you'll throw it out. But put it in the trunk of your car. Do not put it in the car with you. Again, you don't know what remnants are there. And if there are remnants, you want to make sure that they don't get on you or any of the normal car interior that you or your family members may sit in or come in contact with. So throw it in the trunk of your car if there's no outside disposal. But I go out of my way to look for an outside garbage can. I don't throw it on the floor. It's nobody else's job to pick up. And I don't throw it inside my car where it might otherwise infect me or a member of my family or friends if we get in the car together. And so you want to make sure that you throw that out or put it in the trunk of your car and then throw that out elsewhere. When you get in your car, make sure, A, that you've disinfected yourself with the antiseptic or the alcohol. Wipe down the steering wheel. Wipe down the door handles. Wipe down your shifter. If you have it in the console down here or up here, wipe that down before you touch it. Wipe it all down. Most people don't think of this. Wipe down your seatbelt strap. Wipe down your seatbelt buckle. Most people don't. They think, okay, yes, I got my steering wheel. And I know people who said, oh my God, I didn't think about the seatbelt. Your seatbelt. Wipe down the armrest too, because you don't know what you picked up. You want to make sure that it's all clean when you touch it after you wipe yourself down. So you're going to wipe down all of that. Okay? Awesome. So that's how we protect ourselves and our clients. Now, a lot of people said, oh my God, I can't get sanitizer or antiseptic. What can I do? I can't order it. It's going to take too long to get here. Well, you can actually make it, and my wife does. My wife is very handy in this regard. And so she gave me this little cheat sheet for you guys. And these are things that you can definitely get your hands on right now. And you can make antiseptic or hand sanitizer. I know that Amazon is still delivering these things so that they have these available. So you can order this stuff on Amazon. Rubbing alcohol, 99.9% isopropyl. isopropyl alcohol, and then 1/3 of a cup of aloe vera gel. Stir, decant into a soap or pump bottle, and then use it. We actually have several of these around my house, and she's made some for the office as well. Easy to make, inexpensive to make, and now you don't have to worry about going to the store and buying some if you can make it yourself. Every once in a while, you want to give it a good shake to make sure that it's mixed up, and the gel helps spread it around, because if you just did the alcohol, it would dry up long before you spread it all over your hands or your arms, and it makes a big mess. So the aloe vera actually helps you lather it on without making a big mess out of yourself. So you can make your own antiseptic or hand sanitizer. Everybody's going to get this at the end. If you want to take notes, I'm lingering on the screen a little bit, obviously. But I'm going to make sure that everybody gets a copy of this if they want it. Okay? Awesome. And then face masks. A lot of people have asked me about what do they do about face masks. They can't get it. Now that the CDC and HHS have said everybody should wear face masks, and everybody seems to be out of them, and the only ones you can find are on Amazon are made in China. I think China's given us enough, thank you. So everything on Amazon is made in China, and even those people who did get it say they're flimsy, they're cheap. So the CDC has done a really good job of providing a template for how you can make your own face mask. Thanks again to Allison Meredith, who found this link and sent it along by way of her husband, Tim. Thank you very much. And that's a really URL to go to. So we shortened it over here with something called ALDI. That's a URL shortener. And so if you just go to that shortened link, it will actually take you to the CDC website where you can make your own face masks if you wanted to. And so and it's pretty easy to do. Take a look at it. It doesn't require really that you be a seamstress to do it. So take a look at that, and I'd strongly encourage that. If you do find face masks, great. If you know about where to get face masks, let me know if you would. Send me an email, .alper@AbsoluteLogic. There'll be a contact page at the end, absolutelogic.com, and I'll let everybody know on this webinar where to find them. So if you would be so generous as to let me know, I'm happy to pass that along. Or if you want to put that down in chat or the Q&A, that's fine. Okay. And then finally, what we're going to give everybody, everything we talk is in our best practices document that we use at Absolute Logic. I've extracted just the on-site and in-person protocol that I'll share with all of you, and we talked about all of that on this webinar. I strongly encourage you to look at it, distribute it to your team, make sure you're following it. One of the things that we have in there that I make sure that all of my team knows about, that I follow religiously, print and put out on their desk and put in their car as well, are 5 very important reminders. 1, do not shake hands. Again, the social norm of reaching out and shaking somebody's hand. I mean, I've been guilty of catching myself, thankfully, because I want to run up and say, especially the people I care about, I want to run up and give them an embrace. So a constant reminder, do not shake hands. Do not stand within 6 feet of anybody. Again, this is at the bottom of this on-site and in-person protocol of best practices, and something I asked my team to print out and put at their desk and in their car. To be aware of their surroundings, pay attention to what's going on around you. Like you do in your car, you should be doing while you're at work or out and about. What is going on around you, okay? Pay attention to everything that you come in contact with, everything, because you want to know what you've touched. And if you've touched it, wipe it down when you're done with it. That's hard to do a million things. That's why if you keep a tighter workplace, it's easier to know what you did and just wipe the whole place down. But pay attention to everything you come in contact with. And then lastly, clean up after yourself. use antiseptic or some sort of sanitizer or alcohol, and clean up after yourself. So those are the 5 very important reminders that we tell our team to print out, put on their desks, tape it to their monitors, and put it in their car to make sure that they're following them. And just anybody have any questions? I don't see anybody. You can put it down in the Q&A. You can, I don't see anybody out there. Awesome. Okay, great. Our contact information is right here. I don't have mine there. I need to get mine on there. My apologies. My email is al.alper@absolutelogic.com. So feel free to give me a ring. You can call that 855 number. My extension is 106, or ask anybody to find Al, and I'm happy to answer anybody's questions whatsoever. We will be putting a copy of this up on our YouTube channel, and we'll send that information out to all of you and everybody who registered, so you'll have access to that, as well as the as well as this as PowerPoint and the best practices protocol. Next week, we have some really terrific stuff that we're going to be speaking about, and a special guest next Thursday about insurance and what working from home means relative to your coverage and what your exposure is. Really excited about that, because a lot of questions have come up recently. So I was able to get an insurance company, not a broker, but an insurance company that brokers write for, to explain what to be on the lookout for, what's covered, what's not. So that's going to be next Thursday. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you found this valuable. I hope that you use what you've learned here, and you protect yourself, you protect your team, you protect your clients and prospects and anybody you come in contact with as we navigate this road to recovery. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you next week.